I dropped my Slinky, and I had to lean down to pick it up.
I'm using my headphone wire as a Slinky because it's coiled.
Okay. I used to do that, but then I had to get new headphones. And these ones don't have the coil wire, which I kind of don't like because it feels super thin, and I'm nervous about it.
I like the coil because, I don't know, it doesn't fray as easily, I think.
Exactly. I feel like it just holds up better over time.
Yeah.
The coil is clearly the superior headphone wire strategy.
It's that spiral energy.
Spiral energy.
It's the power of the spiral.
It's Uzumaki.
Now we connected it to anime, so now we can do the intro.
It's a better manga than anime.
Well, I connected it to Gurren Lagann.
Oh, that's right. Spiral. It's been at least 5 years since I've watched Gurren Lagann. Yeah. But it's been several months since I've read Uzumaki, which is also very good.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to give a hot take here. I think Junji Ito's stuff is perfectly adequate.
Yeah.
Just adequate.
There's a lot of it that I'm a very dedicated Junji Ito fan, but there's a lot of it that's like, Like James was talking about the record one last week. I personally,
like there's a couple of bangers, but the majority of them are just kind of okay.
Yeah. It's the style itself is more of an appeal than his story writing, his storytelling.
Yeah, I usually like character-driven narratives too, and his characters kind of don't really matter in his stories. They're just kind of vessels.
Yeah, that's
his stories are featured around the weird thing. The weird thing is the focus of the story. Everything else is just kind of there.
Yeah.
Care about the people because, you know, it's just about the weird thing.
Exactly. I would actually kind of recommend Uzumaki, because that one is more character driven than usual, because even though it still follows his style of like almost Twilight Zone-esque weird stories, there is still the overarching character set. You still follow the main characters as they encounter all these things, whereas something like what James picked up, Shiver, is basically like a Japanese Twilight Zone type manga, because is the people,
and like the Twilight Zone, there are those banger episodes, and then those other ones that are just kind of, this is okay.
Yeah. Not everyone can be a what is it? It's like Strange Happenings on like 36th Street or whatever.
I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, it's the one where all the people think that one of them is like a Russian spy or something, because some kid keeps talking about, Mom, Dad, it's got to be the aliens.
Yep.
And then everyone goes paranoid and kills each other.
Well, they kill one person, and then
it ends in like them all like sort of rioting.
Yeah, everyone kind of loses their shit and they kill someone, and that's where it pulls back to the aliens, and the aliens are like
on like a cliffside being like, there are many places like this.
We don't need to attack this planet to destroy it. All we need is to turn off the lights.
Then there's the classic ones, like, remember, is that a Twilight Zone episode, the one where he's like, it's a cookbook?
Yep, To Serve Man. To Serve Man, that's a classic.
Or the one where they go to the planet and they are giants and the planet's full of little people, and one guy likes the fact that he's basically a giant god that they're like making statues of, and then the rational guy is like, hey, we should leave, and the crazy guy, the guy who's going just absolutely crazy on the planet's like, nah, I'm gonna stay. and then the rational guy leaves, and then an even bigger person comes to the planet and steps on that guy.
Huh.
Yeah, basically, oh, did I step on something? Oh, didn't notice.
That one, I don't remember. I remember...
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, I remember there was so much time.
Oh, yeah, the guy with the pocket watch. Do you remember that one?
No, the one I'm talking about is the one where the guy, he's like a shitty librarian, and he gets locked into a vault, and the world ends. Yeah, the world ends, and he comes out, and he's like, I can read all the books I want. And then he crushes his glasses by accident. There was time now.
Yeah, there's the one I'm thinking of is the pocket watch one, where the guy has the ability to stop time and do whatever he wants. And he's like, yeah, I can do whatever I want, but accidentally stops time and then breaks the pocket watch.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And
there's the classic William Shatner. There's something on the wing. A monster.
Or I think I actually remember the title of this one, The Escape Clause. The guy who makes a deal. I think he makes a deal with the devil so he can live forever. Or yeah, he's basically immortal, and he just starts going around trying to just do a bunch of dangerous stuff. And he's like, I think I'll see about the electric chair, and he gets himself arrested, but then finds out that instead he just gets life in prison.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah. The Twilight Zone is a good show. But again, a lot of crappy episodes. We're only talking about the bangers. That thing has, what, like 12 seasons?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. And we're maybe picking out a handful of the top 10.
Never forget the one where there's that weedy little nerdy dude. The aliens come down and randomly give him different superpowers just to see what happens. That episode is not very good. It's like The Incredible Mr. Pym or something like that.
I think I know the one you're talking about, but I have a very vague memory of it.
That's because it's not very good and not really worth remembering.
I remember I watched a bunch of them when I was younger, because for some reason they were doing like an entire marathon of them, and I just sat down and just watched almost the entire show straight.
Actually, they used to do that basically every year on New Year's. They would do like a Twilight Zone marathon. That was
when I watched it.
Yep. Instead of the Twilight Zone, though, we're here to talk about some other shows.
But we're probably going to start a Twilight Zone podcast now, thinking about it.
I mean, I bet people would listen to it. There's enough content there.
Yeah. Like 144 episodes or something. You can have at least 144 episodes of your podcast. Just one episode a week.
And then you can do the Jordan Peele one, the new Jordan Peele one.
Is that any good?
I have not heard that it's as good.
I haven't heard anything about it.
Like, the most I've heard is like, it's not great.
I feel like it was something that kind of worked for the time, and anything now, it's just like, you'd be watching it and just probably assume, I should just be watching Black Mirror.
Yeah. I do
I think Black Mirror has taken that place.
I don't even really like Black Mirror all that much.
No, but Black Mirror, just like the Twilight Zone, there are those banger episodes.
And then there are
the rest of them. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just how it be sometimes.
Yeah.
Just like this, a podcast called The Protagonist Seat, in which the two of us, Alex and Ian, that's Alex, I'm Ian.
It is.
Talk about shows.
We do talk about shows. We just talked about a show for a very long time, but now we're going to talk about different shows, specifically shows not made in the United States.
Yes. That Twilight Zone opening segment will take the place of Assault Lily Bouquet this week.
Yeah, because that's not happening. So let's keep up with weird sci-fi and jump into Akudama Drive.
Good transition.
Yeah.
This week...
I feel like I'm really on it with the transitions this week.
And you know what? That's good, because I never am ever. Unless you count, this is a transition moving to the next show. This week, Akudama Drive, we pick up in media res, basically the last episode left off where they were on their way to the weird scrap electronics place, and then they get ambushed by the older executioner that we've met.
The cool masked executioner.
The cool masked guy.
And
he's going to fight him.
Yeah, it's a big fight between him and Brawler and him and the rest of the gang. And, so remember that offhanded comment before about Doctor mentioning she could probably sew herself back together if she was cut in half?
Yes, she does.
Yep. Nothing personnel kids from right behind her and cuts her in half. And then I'm like, oh, she's going to do the thing.
Yeah, I feel like that should be anyone's base like gut instinct whenever anything bad happens to Doctor ever. Oh, she'll be fine.
Yeah, he's primarily fighting Brawler just because Brawler's like, this is the best fight ever.
Yeah, Brawler is that dude who wants the good fight, whereas everyone else is just like, we got to do our thing.
He fights Cutthroat too, and Cutthroat gets kind of stuck under some rubble, and the only way he can get out of it is to cut his own legs off, which he does without any hesitation.
He not only cuts his own fucking legs off, he then leaps around like a bad puppet in an 80s horror movie.
It's like Yoda in episode 2.
Yeah. My dude is fucking nuts.
And he notices that Swindler's in danger, and she's about to get stabbed by their sort of laser baton things, and he holds up the kid as a human shield and then just stabs right through the kid to stab at the bad guy. But of course the kid's fine because it turns out he's got nano machine healing?
Nanomachine, son.
Nanomachine, son.
Yeah, he's got super regenerative something. They don't say what it is, but Doctor walks over and is like, he's got super regeneration. I knew there was something more to these kids.
Oh, and Swindler is traumatized and horrified that he just stabbed through a kid.
I think that one's a little fair. I think I'll give her this one. Yeah,
and he, afterwards, she's really pissed off at him too and confronts him about it. He goes, well, if I didn't, you would have died, so, you're more important than the kid.
Yeah, your life is more beautiful than any child's. And then she slaps him.
And he's all confused, like, what did I do wrong?
Because Cutthroat is fucking crazy.
Yeah, but they all manage to escape and just leaving Brawler behind with Hoodlum, who just kind of got stuck there to fight the Executioner.
I love, because there's a part where Executioner at first, like, knocks Brawler into some rubble, so he's out of commission for a little bit. But I love when he comes back and he like has a pep talk with Hoodlum, and he picks up Hoodlum and literally throws him at the Executioner to like stagger him. And he throws Hoodlum, and he's like, how'd you like my bros tackle?
And they even reference how Doctor references that the Executioner is clearly still wounded from their last battle.
They talk about that a lot.
Yeah, and it cuts back to the Executioners who are... it's the Executioner boss lady talking to...
Judi Dench.
Yeah, it's Judi Dench talking to the jobber girl.
Who jobs hard.
Yeah, she jobs every fight. And she explains to her, do you know why I made the Executioners have partners? Because Executioners will literally just throw themselves into battle until they die. In that regard, they're really not so different than Akudama. So we needed to do a partner system so they have a reason to live.
I kind of like that a lot. Like, I don't know why, but there's something about, all right, we've got these incredibly dangerous psychopaths running around the country. Let's just make our own who will also throw themselves with such wild abandon at them.
And she basically tells her, since your master left you behind, that means he is probably prepared to die.
Which he is.
Yeah. And she's like, you can go see for yourself.
This is a fight to the death.
Yeah,
I don't
and it
remember
is
if
a
they
badass
ever.
fight.
It is. The brawler and executioner fight scenes in this show are fucking awesome every time.
They're fighting
Like
at
they
like an
always,
abandoned amusement park. There's lightning, neon lights. It's crazy.
it's choreographed very well. All of the animation is very fluid. You can see all of the detail and the movement. There are this show just looks amazing. Like all of the background art is just beautiful. All of these settings and set pieces themselves are so fun to look at and do such a great job of framing whatever action we need to be looking at. And it's just a beautiful looking show.
It's also just because this is one of those shows where you don't expect what's going to happen. And the fact that after the fight ends, we see that Brawler has actually died, it looks like.
Yeah, it basically
Like, we
they
have
do
been
the thing
losing
where they
characters on this. Hacker left in the previous episode.
yep.
Brawler has died, it looks like.
It looks like him and the executioner killed each other. They did the thing where they punch each other and they both apparently died.
Well, they were both bleeding out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jobber Girl arrives on scene and she sees that her master has collapsed. And as she's running over to him, she drops her electric baton thing, and he says something to her, but we can't really hear it. And then he
That will
gives
be
her his
revealed
baton.
later.
Yeah, he gives her his baton, and then she sees Hoodlum arrives, and he's looking down at his bro, real sad. And then he picks up her baton, and yeah, he just kind of rushes her.
Yeah, he rushes her down, and we don't see what happens.
Yeah,
We
he
cut to
rushes
a
her,
shot.
and he takes the baton and just and he swings it at her. But we get a scene at the. Did you watch after the credits?
Yes, the hospital scene.
Yep. So she
Or at
wakes
least
up.
what I'm assuming is a hospital.
Yeah, she wakes up in the hospital and she realizes she has bandages over her eyes. Goes to a mirror and takes off the bandages, and yeah, so she lost her eye.
So we don't know exactly what happened, but it looks like Hoodlum at least took her eye. And I know Hoodlum's not dead because he's in the next time on Akudama Drive section.
Yeah. Also, just it's kind of a dick move.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he just lost it.
I think he just lost it, but still.
Yeah, it was an unexpected move because everything leading up to this moment in the show is basically telling us that Hoodlum is a coward who doesn't actually want to get into any fights. So
but now his bro's dead, so now he's got to step up.
Exactly, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Hoodlum steps. I
wonder if he's
going
to
that
keep
role.
that, and then they're going to have like a lightsaber fight later.
That'd be cool. It would make sense for the Hoodlum to be like a pretty decent knife fighter, I guess.
I feel bad for this girl. She
Me
just
too.
wants to do the right thing and go out and serve justice, and then she's getting her ass kicked constantly, and every bad thing is happening to her.
Yeah, these guys are fucking up her life pretty good. They're doing a pretty good job of that.
Her master's dead. She lost an eye. She's on suspension.
It's not looking good, but we'll see. We'll see what happens next week. I'm looking forward to it. The show is great.
It is. It is a very good show. Just like Wandering Witch, The Journey of Elena.
Yes. It's another episode of two stories this week.
Shit.
Yeah, they no sads. Just weird stories of duality and two sides going at it.
Oh, from last week we stopped being in volume 1, so all the previous episode and this episode is all new stuff to me.
Cool.
Because I haven't read volume 2 or 3 yet.
They must have skipped a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of small things, because you know how it constantly cuts to the guys who are lifting weights all the time that keep popping up?
Yeah, I was going to mention that this episode. I think that's really funny.
Yeah, they're from like a little side story thing they skipped, and they're recurring characters. the muscular guy.
I do like the muscly dudes.
Yeah.
Because they're just background characters in the show where it'll cut to just 3 dudes who are super muscly and one of them's always lifting weights.
Yeah,
And
they
it's
were a
just
side
like
story, but they got skipped, so I think they're just in the background as a reference.
I can get down with that. A little bit of fun references for people who read the light novel.
I can sit there and be like, I know that. I know that.
I know them. I know those guys. I met them. I know their story.
They're doing that specifically for me.
For me specifically. They were making the show and they said Alex would get this
Yeah.
and Alex would like this reference.
It's like, man, only Alex would get this reference, but we're throwing it in there for him.
I mean, you got to include one. You got to include one.
But what did they go to first this week?
This week, it actually starts with a little bit of a flashback because we get the framing narrative of the book of stories of Nike or Nike, whatever.
Elena's mom.
Elena's mom. And it's pretty obvious that it's Elena's mom in this particular story.
Yeah, this is the giveaway where it's like, oh, it's literally her.
She has white hair and looks exactly like her in the flashback, and B, later on, 2 characters are like, hey, it's that other witch that visited us earlier, but only you're younger. That's weird. Which is not subtle storytelling in any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But yeah, she goes there.
It's this.
It's the Berlin Wall, but yeah, between 2 sides of a town.
But not as bad.
Yeah. It's both sides of the town don't like the other side, and both want to say our side of the town is the best side of town. And she goes, well, what should we do about the wall? And she's like, I got an idea. And she just writes on the wall, this side of the town is awesome, or something like that. And then she writes, the traveling witch.
I'm the traveling witch, and this is my favorite city on the continent.
And they're like, huh. And she's like, yeah, just have other people other travelers carve messages into the wall. And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, well, the other side's already doing it, and they got a ton of messages.
Well, looks like we better start.
And then she went to the other side and did the exact same thing.
Because of course. The best unity is formed between 2 people who are trying to compete with each other.
And little Elena was always excited to go and visit it and see it for herself. But a couple of weeks before she gets there, Saya goes there.
The Yuri witch.
Yep, and she carves into the wall, Elena, 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 Elena.
I love Elena, I love Elena, I love Elena. Because she is crazy.
Yep. A lot of Yuri this season.
There's so much Yuri.
Although I don't think Elena really is into that.
No, she definitely is not. Yeah. That is one-sided AF, fam.
But so she ends up convincing them, hey, you guys built the wall. Maybe you should all write stuff on it. And they're like, yeah, we'll all write stuff on it.
Put your desires and innermost thoughts on the wall so that everyone looks forward.
He's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then Elena gets there and she sees the wall is gone and they're selling pieces of the wall. And then the 2 old dudes come by who are like the mayors of the town, and they explain what the situation were. Yeah, so we all started writing our desires on the wall, but then people really started wanting to forget what they wrote down. Yeah,
because people would write stuff about relationships that ended, or like how much they hate someone else.
Yeah, or like, oh man, I was drunk last night when I wrote that.
Yeah. So they tore it down because everyone was they solved the disunity of the city by becoming so embarrassed in what they wrote on this wall that they realized that everyone was kind of shitty.
And then the wall collapses because everyone's been digging into it so much, and both sides see each other, and then everyone just comes together and decides to be one city again.
Yeah. So congratulations, Saya. You fucked up a stop on Elena's journey, but you did unify a city.
And then Elena buys a piece of the wall as a souvenir, and it just says LA on it.
Because of course.
Yep.
And then that is the first half. That's the
A
we'll
plot.
call it the A plot. And on to the 2 plot.
The B plot.
Do you guys like wine? Do you
Who
like
doesn't like wine?
do you like
But
feet?
who doesn't?
Good answer. Good answer.
What have you put those things? Actually, I was about to say, what have you put those things together? But historically, those things have actually always been put together.
Yeah, because we get to a vineyard,
Yep.
town.
And she
Well,
goes because she wants to try her first sip of alcohol from the finest wine around.
and she
And
goes
there's
to
two
this
villages called
town.
this village and that village.
You gotta love it. You gotta love the creative naming conventions.
I almost like this style of writing where it doesn't actually. The world building is just kind of like there for the story, so nothing has things can be whatever they want.
Yeah, I enjoy it
It's
because
like
it super doesn't matter.
like Planet or City of Hats can be fun sometimes.
Yeah, and in the case of this, it's Country of City.
Yeah. There's two towns that are rivals over who makes the best wine, and she goes to this village to get some wine, and they're like, "Oh, you've come to the best place. We have the best wine here." And he's holding this one wine bottle with him constantly. And she's like, "Oh, is that wine made here?" And he's like, "Uh, no, it is not."
This
You
is
see,
from that village,
and it turns out that village has a mascot who is this lady who stomps the wine herself, apparently named Rosemary.
and she's super hot.
Yeah,
So
so
they put her on the wine bottle.
and they're like, "Man, if only we had a super hot girl to put on our wine bottle. If people knew that our grapes were being stepped on by a hot girl, it would make it easier to sell. It's perfect business."
Slow pan to all of the women of the village outside leering angrily at all of the men.
I think he basically says, in other words, appealing to fetishes is also important in business.
And he's not wrong.
Yeah.
He's super not wrong.
So they try to convince Elena to step on their grapes.
And at first she's not down with it. They just kind of like drag her along and they swap her out. But then she meets Rosemary.
And she comes up and does
Rosemary,
the whole like, "Oh ho 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 ho."
yeah,
And she's
Rosemary's
all
kind of a bitch.
she's all haughty and is like, "Oh, you'll never be as good of a grape stomper as me."
You're just a flat child.
And she's like, "You know what? I'll do it." And
And
she angrily stomps. And
I like how they take her picture and she's just super. She looks like a demon.
yeah,
She is raging.
and thankfully it's not as focused as we thought it was going to be on the whole or I guess unthankfully, depending on your perspective on it. It's not as feet focused as we thought it was going to be.
Yes, it subverted the feet expectations. But
Yeah, so Elena spends an entire day stomping grapes, and they make about, he says, about enough for half a cask.
that's not very much.
And they're like, "Man, does that mean Rosemary? Like, how much do they produce over there?" "Oh, they sell like hundreds and thousands of bottles a day." She goes, "Isn't that kind of unrealistic for her to be stomping that many grapes?"
Because I guess these people are so stupid that no one ever thought to be like, how is that physically possible?
And they decide to go and spy on them. And it turns out, yeah, she's not doing that. Instead, she's got all of like the worker dudes like hup, 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 hup. All of them are stomping them.
Yeah, not even women, just a bunch of burly men.
And then he is really upset because basically the marketing was a sham.
Who'da thunk it? The advertising was not as forefront as they thought it was.
Mm-hmm. And then they capture them and they tie them up and bring them into the village square and have them explain themselves.
And then all hell starts to break loose.
Yep, because
when
both
someone
sides start
starts
fighting and they all start throwing grapes. Yep.
And Elena, who has at some point grabbed her own bottle of wine and begun to indulge.
Who has never drank before, starts getting drunk.
Yes, we get a drunk 18-year-old witch with limitless magic powers.
So then she starts using her magic to make all the grapes rise up into the air and then just start shooting at everyone like machine guns.
She shoots the grapes so hard at people that she knocks everyone unconscious.
And when they awake the next morning, everything is purple and she is gone.
Which I would be too.
Yeah.
That's a hangover morning. You get up and you're like, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah, you don't even say goodbye to anyone. You just get up and go.
I'm just gonna go.
And the Rosemary wakes up, and the chief of that village wakes up, and you can tell because it's the chief telling the story as an old man looking back on it, and he's telling it to his grandson, who basically looks. His grandson has orange hair, same hair as Rosemary. So
and you can see a woman with Rosemary's hair stomping grapes like 5 feet away from him.
Yep, so they got together.
Yeah. They were so happy that this witch came and wasted an entire harvest's worth of grapes that they went to Slam Town and unified the village.
So now they're just one big village. And they have a festival every year where they throw grapes at each other.
Which seems kind of fun.
Yeah, it's like don't they have like tomato throwing festivals in Spain?
They do.
So it's like
for
that.
Much the same reason, as I am led to believe. Just with less witches.
Yeah. We didn't like each other at first, so we threw tomatoes, but now we're cool with each other, but we still throw tomatoes.
Now we're cool with each other, but we still throw tomatoes. Because it's just fun. What else is... You know what else is... I don't... Fuck. I didn't write down the list. What's next?
What else is fun would normally be Assault Lily, but it wasn't on this week. So next up is The Day I Became God.
You know what? That's what threw me off.
It was more fun this week than the previous week, which was a sad episode.
Yeah. We get... this one, I would say, is more focused on...
Matsuri.
Yeah. And we get a lot of highlights of Yuta and his bro. His best bro.
Yeah. So this week there's a festival. So Hina wants to go to the festival, and she's like, "Gather all your friends. We're making this an event."
Gather all your friends, and also the woman from the Mahjong episode.
Yeah, and she agrees to go too.
Because he's got her in the freaking palm of his hand.
He's already in her DMs.
He owns her DMs.
But yeah, she agrees to go. They're all there. Everyone's having a good time. They're doing various festival things like trying food, playing games.
Yeah, Izanami shows him the trick to catching goldfish. And Hina and him
win the shooting game. Like the cork gun.
They do coordinated shooting attacks.
And but we see that Hina's starting to get a little jealous of Yuta's connection or a relationship with Izanami.
Before this, we do get a cool scene that I do want to touch on, where him and his bro, there's the haunted house and all the ladies go in.
Yeah,
and him and his bro are like
put on costumes and decide to help scare them.
Yeah, they dress up as the ghosts and do the ultimate coordinated ghost attack. But then they have a quick chat on the inside of afterwards where they're like, "Hey, man, about the intramural championship all those years ago."
Basketball.
Because they're the basketball men.
Yeah.
Because at one point, we figure that... Yuta tells us that he gave up basketball because of Izanami, but then later we learn that his best bro
has a sports injury because this. Of course he does.
Of course he does.
This is an anime that's going to have sad moments, so you got to have the athlete guy have a sports injury.
Exactly. But you know what? He wants Yuta to freaking jump high and jump far and shoot his shot because he's the best. Because he goes over because Izanami's alone. He's like, "Hey, man, the truly best wingman moment." He walks over and he's like, "Hey, you gonna let Izanami just sit over there by herself?" That's a true rebound right there. He set him up for the 3-pointer. I don't watch basketball, so I can't do the basketball innuendo very well, but I'm trying. I'm trying
Yeah, I
so
don't know.
hard.
I to be honest, I don't care. I don't care about this guy that much.
I like him because I like his haircut.
He just has regular blonde dude
he,
hair.
he's got ponytail, dude.
Yeah, he's a regular best
he's
friend
got pulled
character
back.
look. He's the best friend character that's like, go get the girl. I'll be doing sports or something.
Yeah, and I like that shit.
I don't know.
But
I've seen his archetype before.
yeah, exactly. Hina gets jealous, and so she goes hunting lolicons.
Yeah, because she's like, I'll find someone to spend time with me, and then she keeps calling out people like, "You're a lolicon, aren't you? I can sense it. My all-seeing, all-knowing knowledge tells me that you are."
I think the first guy actually was.
Yeah, the first guy was, and he's like, Stop! This isn't right. You're saying things too vulgar. No, like true lolly would say that."
You speak like an old person.
And so she gets all dejected and wanders off to find a place to hang out, just kind of chill out. So she finds a freezer truck and decides, oh, it'd probably be cool in there. Let me go sit in there. And I'm like, oh, I know where this is going.
Yeah. Because she doesn't seem to understand what a freezer truck is. She's like, this is a cool place, and I will sit down here with my goldfish.
For someone who has all-knowing knowledge,
she's kind of a
walked
dipshit.
right into that one. Yep. And all of a sudden, as you expect, the door closes and the truck starts moving.
Yep. Of course.
And then here's my problem. They drive away, and the group's like, hey, Hina's missing. Let's investigate. They spend probably at least, at the very least, like 20 minutes investigating this, and then to figure out the truck situation, and somehow manage to catch up to it still.
He's the best friend dude, and his freaking motorcycle are just, he's the best. He's the best driver.
Dude, it got a 20-minute lead on them.
Since he realized he can't...
At the quickest, it had a 20-minute lead.
Since he couldn't play sports, every day in the hospital, he watched the Fast and the Furious movies. And he became an expert driver.
No, it's stupid. She should be a godsicle.
She should be. I mean, the whole whole thing is always stupid.
They end up finding the truck, try to chase it down. They try to flag down the driver, but he doesn't get it. And they're like, "Oh man, we're gonna lose him." And he's like,
I feel like if you're gonna drive a freezer truck, that's something you gotta get accustomed to. You gotta understand that. Cause at
least look at the back.
Yeah.
It's a festival with children. Also, there was a candy apple and a penguin toy on the ground right in front of the door.
Yeah. Well, he didn't. No, he should have seen that.
Yeah, he's just not observant.
He's just a dipshit, whatever.
Also, the fact that the fish didn't die was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty incredible. That's a very resilient goldfish.
That's a resilient water.
Normally, if you put goldfish in any water that's not exactly perfect, they just instantly die. Goldfish are the worst pets.
Yeah. But they end up having Yuta jump onto the truck on a moving highway.
Because his bro can't jump anymore since the injury.
Also, he is driving that, so he really shouldn't jump.
Yeah, probably not. It'd probably be a bad idea.
Listen, I'll jump.
Now I'm just hold Yuta, wait here. I'm gonna jump to the truck.
Now that's something that would actually work in a Fast and the Furious movie, though.
Yeah, but in a Fast and the
Don't
Furious
worry, the bike
movie,
has enough momentum where it will still be moving perfectly fine for just a few seconds. Perfectly enough time for me to take care of this.
In a Fast and the Furious movie, both people would know how to drive the motorcycle. And then they would get in a crowbar fight with Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
In the Fast and the Furious movie, they would not only both know how to ride the motorcycle, they would both jump off the motorcycle. The motorcycle would slide, it would flip over, slide under the truck, and then pop back up fine on the other side, and they would jump on it again.
Yes. Yeah. And that's how they would get his attention.
Yeah. And he'd be like, whoa, these guys are badass.
What a sick motorcycle stunt. I better pull over because I can't handle that stunt. It's too cool.
But yeah, they save Hina and they go back to the festival and they watch the fireworks.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the festival episode.
Yep.
And then we got like 9 days or something till the world ends.
Yeah, the world is going to end. And at the end of the episode, Yuta mentions that he had basically like a premonition. What it means, I don't know. Maybe he's going to ascend to godhood. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
You know who doesn't know?
Shinra?
Pretty much everybody in the Fire Force right now. They're going into the Nether and they don't know what's down there.
Yep. And that does not work to their benefit.
Yep, so this episode, it is the 8th and the 2nd joint operation of going into the Nether, and the 2nd brings in a lot of faceless jobbers.
Because they're the military branch, so they've got like a shit ton of dudes with just MP5s.
And you know, like, oh, these are the dead ones.
These dudes are super dead. I didn't expect them to be dead quite as hard as they were made dead.
Yeah.
But it was to be expected.
So they split up the 8th and put the 8th each with their own group of members of the 2nd, just because the 8th has more experience in the Nether.
I like how Arthur's squad, Shinra gives them like an actual manual of how to deal with him.
Mm-hmm.
That was funny to me.
So they have the main focus, because they're all in their own separate groups. Also, Maki's brother shows up and wants to go with the lieutenant.
Yeah, because what could possibly go wrong again?
Because for some reason, Maki's family really hates the lieutenant because they think he tricked her into joining the Fire Force.
Yeah. But that's what she wanted to do all along.
Yeah. But they all end up going in, and the main focus is on the group with Juggernaut and Tamaki.
Mm-hmm.
Because as they all go in there, it turns out that the necromancy lady is active down there, and there's a bunch of dead bodies in the Nether, so zombie infernals everywhere.
Hey guys, do you like zombie malls?
Yeah. Because they're in like one of the underground subway malls too, so.
So it's a zombie mall.
Yep. So they end up there's these guys too in the 2nd that I actually started laughing because at first I didn't know if they were trying to play this seriously. Where they started giving these dudes who we've just met sort of their flashbacks of like their lives and stuff. Like you got the one dude going, "All right, I only have one more mission left, but after that we're gonna definitely have our wedding." And then one just jumps on him and does like the Cybermen thing where it explodes and everyone's like, "No, they got Jonas."
Jonas.
And then the next guy shows him with his wife and they just had a baby. And then after he gets taken out.
He gets that dude gets wrecked. He gets taken to the ground and one of the infernals tears open his chest.
Yeah.
He
gets wrecked.
I did not expect such graphic blood and violence in this. Even though we've seen it happen multiple times, it surprises me every time.
Mm-hmm. And then the last guy that has a flashback, it's just him with a pair of shoes, like, looking at them going, "Gonna put these bad boys on after I get back from the mission."
I like how this is shot just as dramatically with, like, the soft lighting and everything that the other flashbacks has.
Yeah, and it looks like he's gonna get taken out, but then the captain of the 2nd does his headbutt thing on the Infernal and saves him, and he's just like, "Oh, thanks, sir. I had my entire life flash before my eyes, and surprisingly, it was pretty mundane."
It was so mundane that I guess I just wasn't destined to die. And then he gets stabbed right through the back with a huge-ass knife by the 2nd guy.
And they realize, oh no, everyone's becoming zombies.
Once you die, she reses you as a zombie, and some of those zombies have fucking guns, dude.
And yeah, it turns out she's part of a group of the evangelists called the Order of the Purple Haze. Purple Haze.
Purple Haze.
And they end up, so basically Dr. Lick's group is absolutely just mauled.
They get destroyed.
Because he's hiding behind a counter with the last dude standing. And he's like, "We gotta get out of here." And he gets up and gets shot in the head. And he just kind of slumps over.
Like, just one shot, and he slowly slumps and sits there for a second as Licht is just kind of like, And
then
then the
after he
dude's
turns around,
head,
yeah, it just spins around like the Exorcist.
and he's like, I should have known better.
Yeah, he's like, of course.
There is some weird dark humor in this episode.
Yeah, it's a real dark humor episode. Like, just I don't know. I think it takes a lot of inspiration from zombie movies that are like, yeah, this is bad, but it's funny.
Yeah, I like it. I like that kind of tone.
And yeah, so they're all getting chased down, and we find out that Juggernaut's friend from his division, he is the FPS guy. He is super good at just shooting infernals. And they're wondering why, and it turns out his power is he's got thermal vision, which is a really interesting one. I thought that was a really cool idea for a Fire Force power.
Yeah, I also thought that was a really cool power. I also like how Juggernaut introduces his power, because he's like, yeah, he was the top shooter in the unpowered division. And Tamaki. I can't believe I forgot her name. Tamaki is like, wow, he's unpowered? And Juggernaut looks at her and he's just like, nah, he's just super forgetful, and he forgot to put that down on his entry application.
Yeah, no, but it's cool because he's got thermal vision, so he can actually even see where all the other members of the Fire Force are, because he can see through walls.
My dude can see through walls.
Yeah, so he's got cool FPS powers where he's just shooting everything, and then they're moving ahead to go rejoin with some of the other members of the Fire Force, and then his head just gets lopped off.
Yeah, they encounter a white clad at the end of a hallway, and he's just like, stop. And then, and he's just dead.
Yeah, they just decapitate him instantly.
They just kill this dude that I kind of liked.
Yeah, he had cool, he had a cool power. He was voiced by Mista.
Yeah, you expect the jobbers to die.
Yeah,
but this dude was like,
the dudes with no real powers and just only used rifles.
Those dudes were dead the moment they showed up. Most of them are even faceless when we see them in the introductory sequences.
They might as well be wearing red shirts.
They might as well be wearing red shirts. But this dude, he was cool, and they just no more. There's no coming back from it either. They show in like 2 or 3 shots his decapitated head on the ground.
And Juggernaut is in a state of panic and unable to do anything. And so Tamaki goes to fight her herself, because she's like a Inquisition whip lady.
Yeah, she does super cool fire whips.
And then, of course, she starts whipping the shit out of Tamaki, and all of Tamaki's clothes get all ripped up, because that's Tamaki's gimmick.
And
of course, Tamaki can't do anything, because Tamaki's not allowed to win fights.
Yeah, I feel bad.
Because the author's like, nah, Tamaki's there to get saved by someone, to inspire someone to do better.
Yeah. And that's exactly what she does.
She's there reaching out her hand as she's getting the whip sort of... the whip almost becomes like a sword, and she's trying to shove it through Tamaki's chest, and she reaches up trying to call for Shinra, and then she just calls for any sort of hero, and then Juggernaut busts into action.
Juggernaut. And I kind of like this fight. I like watching Juggernaut get serious.
Yeah, because you know what? Despite the fact that I'm kind of mad that they robbed Tamaki of having any sort of agency, it was nice to see Juggernaut go all out.
It was a cool result. We would have liked if they had done something to bring it about a different way.
Yeah.
Do something else to bring about that same result, please. But whatever.
Let Tamaki do more than just fight. Lose her clothes and need to be saved.
Yeah. In
fact, the only fight Tamaki ever wins is against the guy that can't look at her naked body.
Yeah. I.e. the fight she doesn't have to fight.
Yeah. But, well, she does. She beats him over the head the first time, so...
Oh, yeah, that's true. She actually does... She doesn't even use her powers, though. She just, like, hits him with a pipe.
Yeah.
Let Tamaki use Tamaki powers to fight.
But yeah, Juggernaut in this fight's really cool because he has so many layers, so every time she starts cutting through him, he just like pops up like with like new. He basically regenerates.
Yeah, because he that's his thing. He wears so many layers that you can cut his arms and legs off as many times as you want. He's just gonna keep powering forward.
And he has
almost like he's some kind of juggernaut.
Yeah, and he has a bunch of flashbacks throughout the fight of advice he got from his friend who just got decapitated.
Felt a little bit bad for him.
Yeah, and he keeps kind of rushing forward, and he just kind of goes on like, I'm strong, I'm big. And we see him finally run out of layers on his arm, and it's just his bare arm now. But he makes, because his whole thing is he can make like weapons.
Yeah, he makes guns. He makes and bombs a nuke. And shit.
He makes a nuke. That's his last thing.
It's the Moab.
Yeah,
my dude brings out the Moab,
and he's just reaching forward with it. And this chick's like, "Oh, you'll never be able to touch me." And then he
touches her with it.
He just shoves it right into her face, and I'm pretty sure she's dead. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Yeah.
Because the way he looks back and smiles, I'm like, I think he just blew them both to smithereens.
That's where my head's at as well. I am inclined to think that both of those people are dead. If Juggernaut is not dead, then he is at the very least missing an arm.
Yeah.
There's no way he's coming out of that unscathed.
Because I wonder, because they've kind of had a lot of moments where you think Juggernaut's dead, but he just comes out. But I don't know. I feel like you do that too much to people, and you start to lose their trust.
I think a good way, honestly, I think having him lose the arm is a good way to mitigate that at least.
Yeah,
because we like, see his physical arm holding it for once. So it would make sense to have it be like, this is unprotected.
Yeah.
He fucked it up. He fucked up his arm super good.
She's definitely dead though. She took that to the face.
Oh yeah, 150%.
We even see like part of her like face go like as it's like pushed in by it.
Oh yeah, she's dead. She's in the opening credits too. She is in the OP and now she's dead.
Yeah, she only has like a single shot though, just her like spinning the whip.
Yeah, her and Porn Guy are both in the OP.
Yeah. Well, because they highlight everything that's going to happen.
Yeah. And
like
you know
good
what?
OPs should.
And you know what? We're getting towards the end of that OP. We're getting towards the end.
Yeah, we just got to have Shinra fight Burns, it looks like.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. Anytime Burns shows up, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, anytime they go into the Nether, it's always good.
The Nether is always like it's a sign that something great is going to happen.
It's basically like, all right, you guys ready for the battle arc?
All right, we've had some guys, we've had our fun. Now it's time for people to fucking die. It's time to watch stuff get blown up, people that have some real good fights, and someone's going to die.
I think actually we haven't had a major character death in this show yet.
Not yet.
So if Juggernaut does die, that's like the first big one.
That's the first big boy. The biggest boy to be the first big boy. Who dies this week in Higurashi?
In Higurashi, we don't know yet.
We get some inklings, but we don't have confirmation.
This week, they go into the shed, even though Keichi had a bad feeling about going into the shed, but Shion is kind of like that bad girlfriend that makes you do things that you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And then you end up regretting everything later.
Yeah.
Bad influence. But yeah, so they go into the shed, and they find a statue of Orashiro-sama. Yes, Hinamizawa.
Yep.
Yeah, basically they do the, do you know Orashiro-sama? And they explain sort of the lore behind the village, and that there's a swamp nearby, and they believe that people used to sacrifice people to the swamp.
And then a bunch of demons came out and started killing people.
Yeah, because...
And then Oyashiro-sama came down to save the day in the most fucked up way imaginable.
And now people mixed with the demons, so they believe that the offspring of those people, like the current villagers, hunger for human flesh sometimes. And that Watanagashi, the festival that they're at, which is the cotton drifting, apparently wata can also mean entrails. So instead of the cotton drifting, it's the entrail drifting. And the ritual that dance that Rika sort of does is almost like carving something up. Yeah. So instead of a futon she's cutting up, it would have been a person.
It's a boy! Bam, bam, bam.
But
except this time it's actually a futon.
Yeah. And Keichi gets all creeped out by that, and they end up knocking the head off of or Shion knocks the head off of the statue, but Tomitake comes in and fixes it, and he's like, oh yeah, it just does this, it looks like.
Yeah, it was already broken.
And the statue's kind of creepy because it looks like a big Iron Maiden.
It does. I dig it. I dig the statue design. It's cool.
And they head out, and they're like, hey, we should probably not talk about this to anyone, because, we're now like the most likely candidates to be demoned away.
Taking bets right now to see how long it takes for Keichi to not do that.
Yep, and they're like, hey, we should all go down to the river together, or Tomitake suggests that, but then you see Takano looks kind of miffed about that, because clearly she wants to spend alone time with her man.
She wants to get that sweetie.
And they all split up, and they agree not to talk about what happened. And as they go to back to the festival, they're like, hey, Keiichi, what'd you think of Rika's dance? And he's like, oh, it was great, no mistakes. And then everyone gets all awkward and quiet.
See? And like, Keiichi didn't think that was a mistake. Oh, you fucked up, Keiichi.
And Mion starts to ask him questions like, hey, did you go anywhere? Did you see Shion earlier? And he's like, I maybe I thought it was you. She's like, we wear different outfits.
We even style our hair differently. Speech 100, Keiichi. You're doing great.
Yeah. Did you see Tomitake or Takano? No. Who is this Tomitake of which you speak?
Keiichi, you're doing great. Keep it up, brother. You're doing amazing.
And then he goes home, and Mr. Delicious shows up.
Oh, I just saw you walking home and figured I would stop you for a chat, he says as he stops Keiichi outside Keiichi's house.
And he's like, hey, have you seen tonight Jiro Tomitake or Takano? He's like, no. Why do you ask? Just curious, He
does a better job lying to the cop than he does to his friend.
Oh, but the cop's even just like, heard you guys went into the shed earlier. Because, of course, he has people on lookout.
Yeah.
It's like, also, just be careful of your friends in the Sonozaki family. Because, their dad's bigwig Yakuza. So if they wanted to, they could just kill people in the street and someone would come and cover it up.
So a lot of stuff this episode that's really just not stressing Keiichi out a lot. Keiichi has got to be at a 0% stress level after this one. And
stress does not help with Hanamizawa syndrome.
No.
And
the entire time in this episode, I was like, none of this is gonna help Keiichi not go absolutely fucking nuts.
Yep, and he ends up going back inside his house, and Shion calls him and goes, hey, so we went into the shed, right? And he's like, yeah. She's like, okay, we went to the shed, and then we split off after that. He's like, yeah, that's exactly what we did. She's like, well, Tomitake and Takano are missing. Apparently they stole a truck and fled town. And then he starts freaking out on her. He's just like, why does everyone want to know about Tomitake and Takano? Why does everyone keep asking me this? He's like, you were the one that convinced me to go in the shed. What are you going to do to fix this? And he starts absolutely losing his shit, which tells me he's hitting high levels of Hanamizawa syndrome.
He's hitting critical mass. Because she hangs crazy. Up on him.
Also, what I'm wondering, too, I'm like, is because that's the thing with the Mion-Shion thing. The way she phrases her question to him kind of has me suspicious. Like she
Yeah.
asked him like, "Hey, we went into the shed earlier, right?" Almost like it's Mion getting the confession out of him that they did that.
Yeah, that's also what I was thinking, because that is exactly how I would phrase that question if I wanted to lead someone on.
Yeah. And then he's going into his crazy insane mode and everyone's getting all suspicious. And yeah, so
And
it looks like we're going to have crazy Keichi, but I feel like it's not going to be that easy.
yeah, we also get
Oh yeah. And then the next day he's at school
yeah.
and he's kind of all upset and then Rika comes over and goes like, "Is something wrong, Keiichi?" And he tells her some stories like, "Hey, so I got a story about kittens. What if there were like four kittens that broke into a shed that they weren't supposed to break into and they're afraid that they're going to get cursed?
And now
What should the
two of them
kittens
are
do?"
gone.
Yeah, and two of the kittens are missing. So what should the other two kittens do?
Keiichi, come on, man.
Enrica even goes into I'm just gonna call it Birkenstall mode.
Might as well.
And Rika goes into Birkenstall mode and just goes, "I can't believe you used such a stupid analogy to explain this to me." And I can't. She kind of goes into, "I'm done with this shit" mode, where she goes, "Well, this timeline's already botched. Who cares? You messed up. Maybe Takano and Tomitake are probably dead. Who knows? Maybe that'll be good for you. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't know how this is gonna
It's
pan
done.
out.
The whole thing's botched. It's done. Let me just like, I'll just wait till the next timeline. Who cares? You ruined it. You should have just watched me dance. Why did you go into the shed?"
Good job, Keiichi, you idiot. You
Yeah,
messed up the timeline for everyone.
good job, Keiichi. You went into the shed. You should have just watched me dance. You went into the shed. Everything's ruined now. It's too
Because
late for you.
Keiichi's kind of a dipshit. And Keiichi has become his own undoing.
In fairness, to a rational person, that wouldn't seem like that crazy of a thing.
No,
It's just like, hey, it's like a festival. Let's kind of check out the shed. It'd be kind of fun. He's a teenager.
I
But
wouldn't have gone into the shed.
This is also a village where everyone is affected by a disease that causes extreme paranoia,
Yes,
which they don't know about. So
I wouldn't have gone into that shed. Because if I'm not supposed to go into that shed, I'll just watch the dance. Just let me watch the dance, dude.
he wouldn't. No, you would have.
Not even for Shion, dude.
You would have. Because if Shion was like, you would have been goaded into it by a pretty girl.
Not even, dude. Dude, you know me at this point. If I set my mind to something, when have I ever changed it? I am the most stubborn person when it comes to not doing shit I don't want to do.
That's true, but sometimes you can be the king of the simps.
That is something that I put forward. No one pushes me into that. That's what I do to myself. The only poor decisions I make are the ones I make to myself. Ain't no one else gonna push me into my poor decisions.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like even if like Shion was like, "Come on, let's go into the shed," would be like, I'll look. What's the harm? It's just gonna look."
I get even more suspicious when people start goading me into shit like that.
Also, the three of them are kind of a creepy trio in this one, where they're all just like, "Yeah, we're kind of all just interested in the fact that people die in this village every year."
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to bring up. I would not want to spend any alone time in the woods with that trio at all. Like that, no matter what, having those three try to push me into something would creep me out, and I wouldn't want to do that.
I don't know. I'd hang out with Tomitake. Tomitake always seems like a pretty cool dude.
He's like, I wanna say he seems like a cool dude, but every time he shows up, he's just real creepy. Oh, he's just a regular freelance photographer who just snoops his nose into everything. I don't trust him, man. I don't trust him.
It's been 10 years since I watched it, so I forget what his job is specifically. I know he works for the same organization as Takano, but he's got a better moral conscience, which is what ends up killing him in all the other routes.
He wears dog tags.
Basically, I think he gets killed every time because he knows like part of the thing was constantly to kill Rika in the other series, and I think his whole thing was like, "Hey, we shouldn't do that," and they're like, "Well, we can't let you reveal our plan," so yeah, he gets whacked every time.
That sucks.
Yeah, he gets whacked for having a moral conscience.
Sucks to be him.
Yeah.
But he's sus. I don't trust him.
Again, I don't, also we haven't seen Dr. Ire yet, who is the doctor at the clinic that Takano works at.
We haven't been able to like set foot in the clinic at all, because the only time we've gone to the clinic was when Keichi wasn't feeling well, and that was when they were like, clinic's closed for renovations today, go somewhere else.
Yeah, because that was after like the timeline thing, because the Ire clinic is just a front so they can study the whole Hinamizawa syndrome stuff. So they packed up afterwards because that was after the original story should have ended, because they don't need it there anymore. But
maybe we won't get that doctor. Maybe we won't get him.
They showed him in the preview, I'm pretty sure.
Huh.
Also, I remember like specifically, this is like a really, I'm pretty sure he self admits to being a lolicon.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, it's been a while, but yeah, I know that's a weird thing about him, where everyone's like, did this guy just fully admit to being a pedophile and everyone's cool with him?
That is kind of weird.
My dog is barking. You do the outro for us.
All right. So that is the end of our lineup this week. A lot of good stuff, a lot of setups. We're advancing all of our plots at very good pace. And if you would like to see where all of these very special plots go, I would encourage you to follow us on social media. That is where we post updates whenever we post a new episode. We can be found basically everywhere. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. Like the videos, that is. Leave us a comment. We like seeing people's comments. If you're listening on iTunes, Google Play, Deezer, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any of that good stuff, where we also distribute, then leave ratings, likes, if you can on those. Give us a follow or a subscribe, anything to help those analytics. It is free and does a lot to support us. As always, our amazing intro was done by Popskyy. Link to his, I believe, either his SoundCloud or his Bandcamp in the description. I'm a little bit behind the 8-ball, but I believe that is all we've got. Class dismissed.
Yeah, class dismissed.